Best greetings. Best greetings from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. Today is 6th day of June 2024. I'm translating this video from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. My name is Dr. Victor Fursov. I'm a research entomologist and I'm studying small parasitic wasps. And you're observing on your screen very tiny small parasitic wasps. Tiny small dots crawling around. They're crawling, they're running, they're jumping, they're flying, and they belong to genus Trichogramma, small Chalcid wasps, small parasitic egg parasitoids. They're developing inside eggs of different insects, mostly in eggs of butterflies, moths, and beetles. Why there are so many of them here? They're crowding on this paper. Because they came to me from biofactory, from biological factory, which is studying them, which is developing them, and which is selling them for biological control. This is tiny Trichogramma, tiny egg parasitoids. The size of these tiny parasitoids, which is used for biological control, very small. These are tiny parasitic wasps, size of 0.5 millimeter, half of millimeter. They are tiny like mites, but they are not mites, they are insects. They are relatives of wasps, bees, honeybees, bumblebees, and sawflies. They are parasitic insects, parasitic wasps. Their size just half of millimeter. There are a lot of here males and females. They have been bred on eggs of Sitotroga cerarella, Agmus moth, which is bred in biofactories for purposes of breeding small Trichogramma. After breeding, these tiny parasitoids were emerging from eggs. There are small, very tiny eggs here. I separated them in separate jars, and only very active adults, small parasitic wasps, they just remain on paper, they're crowding and they're flying, and I'm releasing them to the nature. That's why they're here. They're used for biological control of agricultural pests in Ukraine. Some biological factories are breeding them on eggs of moths, and they're very important, very useful in organic agriculture, especially in corn fields in Ukraine, against corn moth. So that's why so many of them. If I give them small eggs of Sitotroga, they will actively parasitize these eggs as well. They are not flying very well. Mostly they are using their legs for crawling around, for search their partners. Males are searching for females. It's very important to use correct species of Trichogramma for correct biological control of certain species of agricultural pests. That's why it needs to make correct identification of species of Trichogramma from biological laboratories, to use correct species against certain species of pests. Like if we use Trichogramma in biological control of corn moth, we need to use species Trichogramma evanescens, which is more effective rather than in other species. In Trichogramma dendrolemi, Trichogramma pintoi, they are used for another species of pests. And also important to check, is any mixture of species of Trichogramma in laboratory or not, because parasitoids are very tiny, and in laboratory conditions sometimes it's possible to make a mixture of species. They are very small, you see how small of them. It needs to make tiny microscopic slides, microscopic preparations to identify the species, to identify to species level, and to separate males and females. I need to use only males of Trichogramma for identification. And you understand the size is just half of millimeter. That's why I use magnification of my microscope, approximately 1000 or 1000 magnification to watch for details of male's genitalia under the microscope, Olympus, which is very powerful, and only under the magnification of 1000 times I can observe details of species of one species or another species. And it's very important to identify species and to make correct consulting which species is bred in this or another biological factory for the purposes of biological control of agricultural pests. As far as I have just a culture now, not all eggs have been parasitized, but one sample which I got from biological factory already had these emerged insects. I decided to make this direct translation video from the cage with Trichogramma, because usually biological factory using eggs just parasitized stage. Eggs are usually black color before emergence, and we're selling eggs for farmers on stage of egg, and farmers are distributing eggs with parasitized Trichogramma in a field when Trichogramma just started to emerge, because it needs to spread them on plants by different methods in capsules or with some substrate, and Trichogramma will crawl very slowly or more or less very fast, as you say. You see here they're relatively slow, relatively fast, to search for correct eggs of pests, usually lepidopterans. That's why I saw many of them. I cannot use too much magnification or zoom of my telephone to show you, because they are still very small. Very small. I use only very powerful microscope to make magnification approximately 500 or 1000 to see the whole body of Trichogramma on the whole screen of microscope, and magnification 1000 to watch just one half of body on screen with details of male genitalia. Females are not used for identification. Male genitalia are used for identification, for scientific identification of species name. If you have some problems with identification of small parasitic wasps, you can contact with me and I can give you some consulting or identification of your material from your country, because not every laboratory can make identification, and it needs careful preparation, careful photographing and identification of species, especially not only from biological laboratory, but especially if some tiny Trichogramma wasps have been collected in a field. Most valuable material is collected in a field, because if you collect eggs of moths, butterflies somewhere in a forest, near a lake, you can collect some native species of Trichogramma. A native species of Trichogramma is most valuable, because you can find new species or new species for fauna of your region or new species for fauna of your country. And it's very important, and you understand that Trichogramma is tiny, half of millimeter. It needs careful microscopic study for identification. And sometimes it's possible to find new species for science, which has been never described before. New species are important for biodiversity study and very used for identification and for description of new species. New species for local region, new species for country, maybe new species for your local area, or new species for science. Never known new species which should be described in scientific literature. And this is my job, identification, making preparations, and sometimes as a hobby I can do this small video just for outreach activity to show these tiny parasitoids, which are known for common people, which are known even for farmers, because They're very tiny, very small, and farmers, they do not use microscope. But they can see how Trichogramma looks like, because this is very valuable biocontrol agent, which is fighting against different agricultural and forestry pests, and it's promoting organic agriculture in Ukraine and other countries of Europe and world. If you have questions about Trichogramma, if you have questions about parasitic wasps, you can contact with me on my YouTube channel. You can contact with me by email. I can help you in identification of Trichogramma and small parasitic wasps. You can contact, maybe can make some scientific projects in study, in research, and you can use it practically for biological control of your pests in your region. Thank you for observations. I was very pleased to show you my tiny Trichogramma today and now, and I will release them to trees here somewhere in the center of Kyiv, because I'm making this video from laboratory in Kyiv, and there are a lot of green trees and shrubs and flowers and grass around, so I will release this tiny Trichogramma to natural biological control of small moths, small butterflies, which are feeding on different grasses here around us in Kyiv, on some chestnut trees, on some rose shrubs, on some flowers, and we will be alive. We will be flying here everywhere around, maybe in Shevchenko Park near my research institute. And I was very pleased to show you this tiny Trichogramma, which are important biological control agent for control of agricultural pests. And if you want to know more about parasitic wasps, you can watch videos on my channel. You can contact with me by email, and don't forget you can visit my Patreon page for some donations. Thank you for watching, good luck, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find more new interesting stories about parasitoids, about small parasitic wasps and other insects from Ukraine and other countries. Good luck, see you soon on my YouTube channel. Bye bye.